Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. This video is going to be a time-lapse painting of a real-time painting that I did exclusively for my patrons. If you do want to see the full 45-minute long video of this piece, definitely check out my Patreon account. I will link it below. It is patreon.com/wonderforest. I would love to have you there. With my real-time videos, I always like to include a project sketch as well, so you'll have the complete sketch to work from if you want to paint along with me. The full-length video also includes my real-time, unedited narration of the piece, and I will explain to you what I'm doing and my thoughts as I'm creating the piece. So again, if you are interested in that, click the link below to sign up as a patron. I am going to leave all of the supplies that I used below in the description as always, and I really took my time on this one mixing up the proper peachy pink tones that I wanted. I was having a little bit of trouble at first getting it the right shade, but I think it turned out pretty good in the end. So this piece is a classic pink, cute little cake shop or bakery, whatever you want to call it. I've always loved when shops have that classic striped awning, so I knew I wanted to include that in the piece as well. I just really felt like doing something kind of simple, a little architectural and illustrated at the same time, and I really enjoy making these kind of made-up imaginary shops and buildings. They are really an awesome way to kind of get your creativity flowing because you can add whatever you want to them. For example, you can decide how many windows it has, what color the building is, what does the door look like, what kind of decorations does the building have, and it's completely up to you. I have thought about doing a little, like a mini series of different buildings and shops and stuff, just because I think it's a really good way to practice different skills and just to create for the fun of creating. I think that a lot of the time, especially with this channel, I feel pressured to create things that you guys want and create tutorials that will help you in some way learn a new skill that maybe you haven't learned before. However, I feel like there's only so much of those that you can do because really, how many skills are there in watercolor painting? I feel like stuff has been covered before and sometimes I just don't feel like going over it again. So painting for myself, and painting something new and different, it's always a good thing because it lets me change up my general pattern of subjects. I've also always been one of those people who is a lot better at painting or drawing something with a reference, or that I can see or visually put together using various references. So I've always found it really hard to kind of take something out of my imagination and put it onto paper. And I think that a lot of artists are actually like that because it is extremely difficult to take something from your own imagination and try to translate it into something on paper without using any kind of reference. So for example, with this piece, I had this idea to make a pink cake shop. But what I had to do was grab various different references, just photos of the outside of different shops, different cafes and stuff like that, just to grab little bits and pieces of elements from each thing that I found that I was really drawn to and that I could include in the final piece. So even though this painting is entirely out of my imagination, I still reference those certain things such as windows, like how do windows look? What do the window frames look like? Stuff like that. So it's very subtle things, but it just helps to see how things would look in real life when you're putting it down on paper. So I don't ever want any of you to feel like you're less of an artist if you use references. Some of the greatest artists of all time have used references for their work. In fact, most artists use references. It's probably pretty rare that you find something that is 100% out of somebody's brain. a certain subject or an object or something can definitely be out of somebody's brain. A face can be out of somebody's brain. It doesn't have to be an actual person that you're referencing. It could just be how a strand of hair flows or how eyelashes look. Things like tiny details like that are still referenced. So yeah, I just don't want you guys to feel intimidated or like you're not good enough if you are using reference photos still. And honestly, the more that you use reference photos, the more you're gonna kind of develop a muscle memory to create those pieces of work in the future. I think a lot of people also get confused when you say you use a reference because they assume that you're actually taking like a photo and copying it, when in fact that's not at all what you're doing. For example, going back to this piece, I wouldn't even be able to provide you with a reference photo example that I used for this because it doesn't exist. As I said earlier, certain small elements may have been referenced, such as the molding on the front of the building, the wood panels, but that's not from a specific photo. That's from a combination of a bunch of different images, just based on what caught my attention and what I translated those images into. Does that make sense? So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on references. Do you think they are good or bad? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Definitely check out the full-length version on my Patreon if you want to, and I hope to see you in the next one.